Welcome to Curious Chimps Podcast. I'm your co-host Nathaniel Pearl.
And I'm Sam Sheva.
And welcome.
Curious Chimps.
We're so happy. You're our first guest. You're our honored guest.
No way.
Yeah. You're guest number one, actually, Aiesha.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that. So normally it's just
so now we just put a lot more pressure on you.
I was like,
First snow, too.
way to start.
Sorry?
First snow outside.
First snow, first guest.
Everything.
We're just breaking records on Curious
right?
Chimps.
So, I mean, I feel rude, introducing you for you, but, you're Aiesha Robinson. You have a foundation.
Right.
Called Born to Rise.
Yeah.
I don't want to steal the thunder from you. I obviously looked you up a lot, and I'm interested, but you can take it away if you want.
Okay. I actually hate introducing myself.
I'll do it. I'll do it if you want.
Let's see how good you are.
Boom.
Okay. Actually, I don't know your age or anything personal like that. Okay, so you developed vitiligo. I don't know how to pronounce that. Yeah. Everyone says it differently. It's very annoying. Right. And you went through some understandable depressions and anxieties and things like that, which is an interesting topic for us, definitely. And you turned that shit around, and you started a foundation, and you have guests and speakers, and you help other people with vitiligo, other people with depression, and all this cool stuff. Yeah. You have a cool, about a half hour, I think, this documentary on YouTube called Born to Rise as well. I love the name, by the way. We've talked about that a few times.
And I'll tell you about the event. The ones that she read. Well, you could talk about it too, but my experience being there was whew, I can't believe I missed all those years. What is it, year 7 or?
We're going on to year 6.
Year 6. Wow. Okay, so I went to the 5th.
Mm-hmm. The 5th year.
Wow, Sammy was mind blown. It was it was just his guests come on and they speak their story, right?
Right, exactly. So first of all, shame on you for waiting 5 years because
seriously,
I knew Nate before I even started it. As I started my first Born to Rise show, I was training with him.
Okay, I didn't realize you guys know each other that long.
Was only this year. Just calling you out.
It's true. Yeah, literally shame on me though. That was my reaction after being there. I'm like, what the fuck have I been doing? This is insane. Sammy, it was how many guests did you have on? It was
I had actually 500.
Wow.
Yeah, I did not expect that.
500
guests. What a turnout.
Holy.
Yeah.
Okay.
The auditorium held 800, and once we were done with the ticket sales and the janitor, he said he counted. He's like, no. He's like, you had 500 people
Holy
here. I was
crap.
like, wow.
And how many speakers do you have?
We had, oh my gosh, how many speakers did we have? So the goal was to have 5 speakers, but their stories are so impactful. You're like, how do I cut it down only to 5?
Oh, yeah.
So we ended up having 7 speakers. Yeah. And so the idea behind Born to Rise stems from me living with vitiligo, as you mentioned, and it stems from me feeling alone, feeling misunderstood, and having no one to relate to me. So I decided to provide a platform for other people to come out and share their stories of overcoming adversity and challenges, so that they know that they're not alone in whatever adversities that they're going through themselves. So yeah, that's basically how it started. I was like, this wasn't when I was going through my depressive state, I was like, this isn't my life. This can't be my life. I don't want to wake up every morning feeling worthless and I have not contributing to the greater good. So that's I was like, okay, you know what? If I share my story and I found healing in that, I could bring healing to others if I give them the chance to share the story. And ever since then, that's what the show has been about, just everyday people coming out and sharing their stories. I know there are things out there like that already, but it's more on a celebrity platform. What's that? I think it's called, there's a show called, what's it called? Hollywood. Oh my God, what's it called? Hollywood something, and it's basically the celebrities coming out and sharing their stories of overcoming adversity and whatnot. But to say everyday individuals coming out and sharing their stories and connecting on that level, I haven't heard anything about it.
It's like a relatable,
exactly.
It's like your everyday person, just and we never realize what people are actually going through because we have this face that we put up,
right?
Like this persona, like, oh, it's all good, everything's good, but sometimes it's not, and sometimes where they got was because of what they went through, and we just don't know about that.
Exactly.
And then like hearing like your event when I was there, I was emotional. I was getting into tears. Some of these people put their hearts out like on the stage for us, and it was like a collective healing experience.
I can only imagine. There can never be too many of those venues, those like, just to be able to open up like that and help people to feel less alone.
Right.
I'm getting a little choked up just talking about it.
I'm probably gonna cry this podcast. I feel it coming up. We're getting flashbacks. But what she was saying is like, it's so true, is that it's like not a celebrity point of view, it's everyday person point of view, and like that is so relatable because we're a part of everyday life.
Exactly.
So when you see someone up there who's no different than you,
exactly,
same age group, whatever, and they fucking talk about their hardships, it puts you in this focus lens on your life, and you're like, wow, if they did that and they have it way worse than I have it, then what's stopping me?
What's my excuse? Yeah. Exactly.
And I don't think it's ever too much to get those reminders.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you think of it's one thing for like Oprah Winfrey to share her story, because she has a crazy story as well. All celebrities, successful, it
seems like it.
They all come from adversity. They all come from challenges, right? But when they share their story, you're inspired and you're motivated, yes. But at the same time, like you're like, but you can't relate to me. Like, look where you are today. You know what I mean?
It almost humanizes them. And then it's like you see them in a different light, but there's
it's like
huge
unattainable type thing.
Yeah,
like
there's a disconnect.
Yeah, exactly.
And the message is pure, but it's got like so filtered through like that their position. It's like it's not as potent as it's just like you or someone in your group.
Exactly.
In Born to Rise speaking out loud.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it was.
So it's like we're helping each other to rise above our adversities.
You've coined the term, and Born to Rise, like
I can't even remember how I came up with that name.
I wanted to ask you actually.
Yeah, I remember when I thought of it, and I went to my mom and asked her what she thought about it. She was cleaning the house, she's vacuuming, and I was like, Born to Rise. But I can't tell you how it came to me, but I remember asking her about it. I'm like, what do you think of the name, like Born to Rise? And she's like, what? Over the vacuum. I'm like, Born to Rise. She's like, I can't hear you, the vacuum's so loud. And I was like, oh, just forget it.
Very unromantic moment. Yeah.
Exactly. And I was like, that's it. I'm like, Born to Rise is the name. But I'm pretty sad that I don't remember how I came up with the term, with the name.
I mean, it's kind of loaded in this like it, I don't know, like it kind of talks about destiny, like in this in these short 3 words. It's like you're born to rise. Like, what do you feel like you see the world that way? Like,
yeah, absolutely. I like the way what I tell people is like, well, you weren't born, like your mom didn't like the doctor didn't hand you to your mom, and your mom didn't look at you and be like, well, this one's gonna be a failure. Like, like no, like everybody is born, and like, your parents, like they have like ambitions, and like they see you like going to be somebody that's successful, and it's society that kind of like drifts us away from those beliefs, the pressures, So if we are reminded that like, wait a second, I came into this world to be somebody, that's what the name that's how the name resonates, is
nice. That
you're born to rise, that you're born to overcome your challenges, to overcome whatever life throws at you, because at the end of the day, you were, again, born to rise. Like it speaks for itself.
Oh yeah,
it's a lot in a short phrase. I really do.
Yeah.
We're all born to rise.
I'm realizing you're trying to find the moment of how you came up with it, and now it just came to me. It wasn't the moment that moment you're looking for. It was your journey that made you come up with that name.
Literally, yeah.
Because you literally were born, and then you had this crazy event that pushed you down, and then you rose above it.
Exactly.
So it's like, I think that whole journey is what defined your title, and you've nailed it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I was definitely thinking about my my experience, because that's where everything stems from, and so that's why I think like, probably just it had to do with some like me just looking back on my life and saying like, giving myself like a pep talk and saying like, yo, like you need to become somebody because you're meant to be somebody type thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. I can tell you how we got the logo. That I know.
I'm curious.
So have you seen the logo?
I can't remember it right now, actually. I'm trying to picture it.
Am I wearing something board? No, I'm not.
You have a tattoo of it on the back of your neck.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. I forgot.
That's the kind of trainer I am. I keep all the details in my mind.
Thanks for reminding. I forget sometimes because it's in the back.
Well,
like,
it's
I
behind
never
you.
see it. Yeah. But so basically, it's the middle part of a turtle shell. And then there's 3 dots in it. So the first one represents my past. Second one, the one in the middle, is my present, and the last one's my future. So if you know anything about turtles, when they're first hatched, their mom leaves them to fend for themselves, and they have to make it to the oceans alone. And only 1% of the turtles Is there like a baby name for turtles? The hatchlets.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I was actually just thinking of that. I'm like, is there like a baby turtle? Anyway,
so the baby turtles.
I'll Google it, guys.
As they're making their way to the sea, only 1% of them survive because they're being eaten by the seagulls and
all
the
sorts
other
of predators.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I represent, and anyone else represents that 1% that survives over the hurdles getting to the sea.
Jeez, 1%?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's life, you know?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Exactly. My friend, my graphic designer, which is also one of my good friends, Andrea Cavallari, she's a graphic designer.
Okay.
And she's been with me like from the beginning through my journey. She's seen me in my worst state. And she was the one that came up with the design, and she told me she's the one that came up with the concept actually.
Nice.
And I was like, wow, you like nailed that one. Like,
it is pretty deep and beautiful. Those people become like your best friends, huh? Like when they seen you like face down in the mud kind of thing, and they still just love you even more, maybe.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
I can't really learn who's by your side.
Exactly.
When you're in the dark points, and those who are standing with you when you're at your top. And like sometimes it takes hitting your rock bottom to realize who's the value in your life, and then when you get out of it, you're just so much more fulfilled. With your circle and your state of mind, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. What was going back to your journey? Like, I know you went through some dark times, but we never actually spoke about it. Like, would you like to just kind of get into that whole process? I remember you gave me tidbits even in one of your talks where like your brother Jamie was a big impact, and I can attest to that. That guy's this guy's like a Energizer buddy of just motivation.
He's like a Ramsey.
He's like a Ramsey on steroids. Just like,
oh wow, okay.
Jamie's unique.
He's my bar. Like we just have a mutual friend who's like.
You should get him here.
Ray of sunshine. Yeah.
I don't know if these mics can handle Jamie. He might blow the the speakers out. Yeah. But
that's incredible.
Like just thinking of like I'll let you get into it, but just thinking of like your journey, like what a better person to have behind you in like when you're in the pits like that.
Yeah.
You know, but like maybe just go through your whole process of. Because it happened later on, the vitiligo, right?
Right, exactly. So it started when I was 18 years old, my second year at Dawson College. And, you know, it's at a time when you're trying to, like, figure out, like, who you are. You're in college, you're meeting new people. You're starting to go clubbing. You're out. I'm legal to, like, drink and, like, party. And a small white dot, like, appeared on my right thumb. And like I had an idea as to like what it was, just because my grandfather actually has vitiligo himself, and one of my friends I went to high school with, she has vitiligo as well, but she's she's Moroccan, so she's like a lighter complexion, so you can't really tell that she has it unless you like really go up close to her. And at the beginning, I ignored it, and I was hoping like it was just a scab. So you know when you scratch yourself, you get a scab, and then but your skin goes back. Sure. After like 3 weeks, it was still there. So I was like, oh my god! I'm like, don't be vitiligo, don't be vitiligo. So I decided to show my girlfriend, and I'm like, listen, like I have this white spot, and it's been there for a couple weeks now. So she takes me to the bathroom, and she's like, Aiesha, she's like, you have vitiligo, and right there, like I dropped to my knees, like. And like I just envisioned my life like for the worst. So I was like, how is this happening to me? Because I know my grandfather, he wears makeup to cover cover it up, and my friend also wears makeup. And for her being of like lighter complexion and not being able to tell that you have vitiligo, and for it to have such a toll on her life, I was like, what does that mean for me? You know what I mean? So from then, as it started to progress, because stress is one of the main factor as how rapidly you lose the pigment in your skin.
Oh, that's a fun side effect.
I didn't know that.
Exactly. Yeah. So obviously I was like stressing about it. And when I went to the doctors to like actually get like a doctor's opinion, and she kind of like brushed me off. She's like, yeah, it's just vitiligo. Like, there's nothing you could do about it. It's just like, there's no cure. And she's like, you could take ointments if you want, but like, it's not guaranteed to work. It's not going to do anything if you.
Once again, like a very unceremonious moment. Like
exactly. So it's just like, all right. So you're just telling me my life is going in shambles right now. Like, thanks. Thanks for the reassurance. And so from that point on, as it started to spread, more people started to notice it. I would try to cover it up by wearing like, winter became my favorite season by default, because I could like wear like gloves to cover it up, and like in layers of clothes to cover it up. You couldn't see my elbows because I have it on my elbows as well, on my face, as you can see. But at that time, it only started on my face like my first Born to Rise show. That's when it really started to come up on my eyebrows. But before that, I was living with it already for 5 years, and it wasn't on my face yet. Wow. So at least there was that. So it was just on my elbows and on my fingers, on my hands, sorry. So going through everyday life and literally having people just stare at you, and, you know, kids making, like, because, like, they don't have a filter, right? Yeah. So, like, kids being kids and, like, calling me a monster, or just, like, crying when they see me. And,
oh, no.
Yeah, so this definitely took a toll on my life. Two particular stories that I can remember is when I met this other guy that actually has vitiligo himself. He saw me in the mall. And he spoke at the show.
I remember.
The last guy, yeah.
I think that guy made me break down. Whoa, yeah.
So I met him in the mall, and we basically he has vitiligo too. And long story short, he was contemplating suicide because his wife kind of left him. Left him because of the way that he looked. He's like, I don't want to be married to you anymore, looking like that. And he bought a rope to go hang himself. And then a couple weeks or a couple days before him actually going through with it or whatever, I met him in the mall, and his kids was like, oh my God, look, Daddy, like, she has vitiligo like you. And I ended up talking to him, and by me being like as confident as I was just walking around, inspired him to like continue living with the condition. But one day we were so cool. I met him, we met up at Tim Hortons, and we're just there having coffee, and this guy's sitting next to us, and then he's drinking his coffee, but he's staring at us, elderly guy, and he's like, hey, he's like, you guys know that you're cursed, right? He's like, that's why you look the way that you look, because you're cursed. And like it was just like just drink your coffee. No, like, nobody's talking to you, no one's paying attention to you, just drink your coffee and leave us alone.
That's like,
so dealing with that, and like dealing with like those types of comments every day. I
guess it's kind of a funny story in retrospect, but like my first reaction was to laugh, like, 'cause it's so ridiculous, but you guys are in a vulnerable state.
Exactly. So at that time, like, it's like, now I can laugh about it because I don't care what people think, but at a time when you're fragile. And like, this is, you're not, I didn't know, because it's the fear of the unknown also, right? Like, I don't know how far this is going to go. Am I going to go all white? Is it going to stop? Like, it affects everybody differently. So the final straw for me was when I went to the weekend after party with some of my girlfriends, and we're in the hotel, and I heard his entourage. I was in the bathroom, and the entourage was like outside the bathroom. They're like, we need to kick out, like, there's too many people here. We have to kick out like all the ugly people, like everybody that's ugly. Like, let's just kick them out. And I walked out. I happened to walk out the bathroom at the same time, and they asked me to leave, and I left, and like my friends stayed and they partied. So it was like, okay, my friends don't have my back, And these people think I'm ugly just because the way that I look like. And it was just like, after getting these comments, like literally every day of my life, something going down to make me feel lesser than, that's when I contemplated suicide. And I went home and I got the knife. And this part I don't like, I haven't completely accepted this experience. I guess there's a bit of like shame in speaking about it. So like I get emotional intense, speaking about it.
You can dance around the details if you want. It's very personal.
So
but it's totally up to you either way.
So you can guess what happened after that. And then, but what kept me alive was the thought of like my family and knowing that like they still support me, my family, my friends. And if I was to do this, that would be kind of selfish on my end, because they didn't do anything for it. Like, they've only tried to like help me through this situation, you know, and I didn't want to like leave them unhappy. And that's when I was like, you know what, I need to turn my life around. And the next day I went to Jamie and I was like, oh, my life sucks. And he gave me an earful, and basically he's just like, you know, like, stop with your pity parties. He's like,
it's tough love.
Yeah, literally.
It's tough love.
Like, he's like, yo, you have vitiligo. There's nothing you can do about it. He's like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna cry about it, or you're gonna do something about it? And that's that. But it's what I needed, right?
It came at the right time, though.
Yeah, it came at the right time. And I'm like, you know, I'm like, you're right. Like, this isn't the life that I want. He's like, stop. And like, he curses a lot too. So he's just like cursing at me.
I love him. I love him already.
He's incredible.
And but it sounds like you seeked him out in that moment. Like you knew you needed that energy, that person. Like,
exactly. Like, I knew what I was going to get, but like.
You couldn't give it to yourself in that moment. Yeah.
Exactly.
Didn't he give you like an example of like, it's like you have your arms, you have your legs? Like
yeah,
both arms, both legs, or something.
Exactly. He's like, there's people freaking dying of cancer and this and that. He's like, there's people dying like with of cancer and like that are dealing with worse things than you are. He's like, what? He's like, it's just your freaking skin. He's like, who cares? Yeah. And he's like, and then that's when it made me think like, you're right. Like, I'm still breathing. Like, I'm not dying from this. And he made me realize what the situation was, and it was that I was uncomfortable with the way people were treating me, and that it was a lack of self-love that I had. And then he's like, go read Tony Robbins. He's like, go look at his podcast, go look at his YouTube channels. And then I was like, okay. He's like, he introduced me to The Secret, and like that became like my
Power
Bible.
Belief,
yeah. And then ever since then, and then like, instead of like hanging out with other people, I was just hanging out with myself. Also because like, you know, when you're in like depression, you don't want to be around other people. No. So I'd be home in my like locked up in my room, and I learned to fall in love with myself again through The Secret, through the power of the law of attraction. And once I was more confident with myself, that I took the next step in, which was sharing my story with schools, and then the rest is history. I'm here today.
And like, look at that coin. There's like the side where we didn't get too much details, but that moment with the knife, and you were at down in the dumps, and then just there you could already see the beauty, because even in that moment you were thinking not about you anymore. It was about your friends, your family, and what it would do to them.
Right.
And then taking that path, look where it led you to, just that love for your family, and that is like outwards now to helping others. And it's like you literally created this path. But it took that moment to realize it, you know, and like, it's just every coin has two sides, and it's like the dark side, and then what comes after the darkness. And
right, I didn't think of it like that.
Yeah, and it's literally like you've created. It's year 6 now of Born to Rise,
right?
And you've saved someone's life without even doing much, but just being there for him. Literally, you said he bought the rope before he met you. Like, you're doing some serious impact just because you didn't fall into the fear. You faced your fear. And you went down the hero's path, where rebuilding yourself stronger.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And like, it's kind of weird to say, because I'm not doing, like, I feel like I'm not doing anything but being myself.
So that's like,
relieving. But that's all you have to be doing.
So when people like call me like a hero, or like, oh my God, like an inspiration, it's just like, I'm just sharing my story. Like, you could be an inspiration too, just by living your life, you know?
It's I guess it's intimidating. There's a lot of titles people are going to throw around at you because you're doing some good work, but it's like moments, you know, like you have these moments where you we talk about this stuff a lot on the podcast, you know, like we talk about ego death and stuff like that. And it's like, you had to let go of something that you thought was reality, and it's just not there for you anymore.
Right.
And I mean, like your face, your body, like we identify with these things so readily, so easily. Yeah. The next thing you know, you're in suicidal ideations, you know, which is fucking understandable to say the least. But what is amazing is that a part of you dies, you know. So I'm really glad you're still here, because other people get to see that you learn to love yourself, and then that spreads like a fucking disease, and you literally save yourself and somebody else, and who knows how many other people. It's like, I'm gonna cry. It's official. Yeah, it's cool to see, and it's incredibly humbling. So I'm sure it makes you a little uncomfortable to go really deep and feel all those things again. But you're here now. Now's what matters, and you're doing so much with the now. You're doing so much with that.
Right. And
it's just like Lego blocks. None of it's necessarily good or bad. When you're in it, of course, it feels horrible. Right. I've had some anxieties and depressions, and I can relate with the emotions. Right. Everything that you're saying just clicks something in my head. Even like not wanting to really go deep into the moment, because it's like a door that you open and you don't want to look at it anymore. There's something kind of dark about it. Yeah. And I don't know if that's the best path. You know, some people, they say you just got to look at it and deal with it and all that stuff. I'm not a psychologist, but I feel like there's a moving forward energy that's really important. And you're a fucking embodiment of that. Yeah.
It's at your own pace.
That's a good point. Yeah.
At one point, giving you all the information that I gave you, going as far as saying like I had the knife in my head and stuff, like I wasn't even able to say that. Like I completely blocked it out of my head. I was like, I'm not sharing that story with anybody. I would just like vaguely like skip over it. I'm like, yeah, like I would contemplate suicide, and then but not go in depth about my journey. And I did it once, and I broke down, and I was like, I don't want to feel that again, because like I like it's like fresh in my head. Like when I talk about it, like I'm reliving it.
It's just too real.
It's too real, and it freaks me out. So going back to what I was saying about it going at your own pace, in the sense where step by step, as you're growing and as you're being more comfortable in your skin, and you're realizing the impact that it had on you, the more you get to talk about it. But I'm not ready to go like full throttle in it yet. And same like how you said, you're not ready to like open that door. And I don't think like psychologists or not, like I don't think anyone has the right to tell us when we'll be ready. I feel like no one knows when you'll be ready except for yourself. And like at my show, if you remember, the host had said that like I was going through some adversities myself, and like she was saying, you know, the show is about vulnerability, and I created this platform so I should be able to like speak about what it is that I was going through at the time. And it made me feel really uncomfortable, because the people that I put on the stage, I don't force them. It's only when they're ready to speak out that I want them to speak out. There are some people that I had to cut because I could tell that they weren't completely ready to share their story. They thought they were, but I can tell that it was just too fresh for them. And I told them, like, you know what, like, start with telling your friends the story first, and little bit of people, and then you can work up to telling, you know, like 500 people, but you're not ready for this.
You think if they go to that extreme when they're not actually ready, it could do more damage than good?
I haven't witnessed it yet, but that is my fear.
Yeah.
That's my fear, that it could do more damage
just
than
open
good.
The door too wide.
Exactly.
Too much is coming in.
Exactly. And then you're going to have people like hitting up in the DMs, like saying like positive things. I haven't heard anything negatives, but maybe
you're just not ready to
address it all, you know, because now it's out there for anybody to talk about, you know.
It's true.
So when when my host is like, you know, trying to like egg me on to share my experience that I was dealing with at the current time, it was like, I get it. I opened the platform, but A, it was for other people, not for myself. And B, this is something that I'm still not understanding. I'm not understanding and I'm not accepting of what it is that I'm going through right now. So for me to speak about it, it's like I don't know what to say about it because I don't even know what it is that I'm processed. Like. Yeah, exactly. Vitiligo, I could speak about that in and out. Like it's not a problem for me anymore because I'm over it. You know, I've overcome that. Yeah. But what I'm currently going through, I'm still going through it. So I can't really speak about it. You know what I mean? So I felt awkward. I felt extremely awkward just standing there. I'm like, what do you want me to say? Like,
putting you on the spot for real.
Exactly.
It's like you're already being so vulnerable and so helpful and building this community, but it's like, I guess you're kind of the star of the show in a way. People want to like pull as much as they can out of you. Yeah. And, I mean, you're there because you've like kind of mastered or at least practiced, let's say, like a really deep sense of personal like honesty.
Right.
And from that, you're realizing that you're not ready to talk about certain things. And
right.
It's even hard maybe to convey that to people sometimes. Talking in front of 500 people is nerve-wracking already.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus, you're like ripping your heart out open kind of thing. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it. Yeah. You guys all blew my mind. I'm like, fuck. In front of everyone, literally just raw emotion coming out.
And it's like, these aren't professional speakers either. Like, this is the first time that they're sharing their story out loud with a group of people.
Do you guys prep them or do you guys
so
rehearse?
Along the way, I don't like rehearsing because I want it to be as authentic as possible.
I respect that.
But I go over key points because there's a lot of people that, like, they have a lot to the story. Like Brandon, our last speaker. Yeah. He had a lot to the story, and so like I kind of like help direct them into like what I think they should focus on, and then we have a meeting. Like I have everybody prior to the show. We have like a group meeting where I make them meet one another so they can feel comfortable to know that they're not going through this alone. Nice. Like everybody's here to like change lives, and the most rewarding part of the show for me, I think, is the therapy that they get from it. So
from that experience,
and them continue. You realizing the power that they have and the power that how powerful their story is and how inspiring they are, and them taking that power back and using it for the greater good. So using it in their everyday lives. So whatever it is that they're doing. So we have like yogis that are part of the show. Yeah. And now they're sharing their story as they're doing their yoga class. And, you know, so that's what, and then them messaging me and saying like, you changed my life. Like, I'm going to continue. Like, if there's any opportunities, like, let me know. Like, I want to continue sharing my story. And I think that's dope.
I picture it like a checkpoint in their personal timeline. It's like they've reached this point, they've went on stage and said it, and now it's like their new bottom. It's like they can refer back to that and then continue onwards. They have like this foundation that you guys all built together. Yeah. You know?
Exactly.
Because, I can imagine, even for just being a spectator in the crowd, like all of us were getting an effect of healing from it. Because when you're hearing a story, you're going through your memories and you're sorting through your problems as you're hearing them tell their problems, and it was just like this
empathy bath.
Yeah. We're just bathing in empathy and healing.
Community therapy.
Yeah. And like the event needed everyone there for it to be what it was, you know? It's like such a respectful crowd. Everyone was really listening in and tuning in and just feeling it because it's relatable, right?
Yeah.
And so
I'm sure you can hear a pin drop when people are really like opening up like that.
Quite a few times.
Even though there's 500 people, it's just dead silent. Just everyone's leaning in, just like as if it's one-on-one. You know?
Exactly. Exactly.
I definitely want to hit up the next one.
I'm going to everyone coming.
It sounds like it
pressure's
could be
on.
Yeah, she's watching you now.
Should we talking? Look at the crowd. Just pointing around you.
Where the fuck is Nate?
But you said you read a few books like during that moment. Did you do anything like besides reading, like practices that helped you, like meditation or anything like that?
Well, you know me and yoga already, so
that's a tough one to get you in.
Yoga's not my thing.
That's pulling teeth.
Meditation. No, not at that time. No, I recently got into meditating probably like a year ago, 2 years ago, and I still struggle with it.
It's a practice, right?
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes I'm like, I'm not doing this. Like, I'm meditating. I'm like, Aiesha, you're not doing this right. I'm like, I know I'm not doing this right. Like, I'm like,
oh, I could relate so hard.
Like,
internal
the
dialogue
voice coming in, being like, you're not meditating.
Yeah,
it's like,
shut up, I am.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Am I meditating? Is you're not meditating. That's like the first,
Exactly. And then like I get distracted. I'm like, oh, did you hear that? Like my stomach just growled. Like, oh, Aiesha, didn't you eat today? Like, and then it's like a whole dialogue with myself. I'm like, crap, concentrate, focus. Like,
that's it though, right? Is that moment when you catch it? It
Exactly.
could take 10 minutes sometimes, but you just go like, oh fuck, I've been just monologuing about like yesterday's dinner or something.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm
amazing.
like, oh my gosh, you just had a moment. That was meditation. Like,
just brought it back. Just did a little bicep curl for your
It's so
for your
strange,
brain.
how it works like that.
Yeah.
It's like you realize what I've gotten from meditation is that the mind is doing its own thing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like this like computer that's just broken, that's just playing everything over and over again.
Right.
And then meditation like gets you out of the thoughts, and you're just watching your thoughts. And that's what I got out of, because I started like it's been 20 days now since I started meditating.
Okay.
And it's like the way I described it to Sammy was one of our previous podcasts was like if you're pouring water in a filter and the water is your thoughts.
Okay.
The filter's meditation, and like whatever doesn't go through into the bucket is what you're meditating and seeing and taking out of your thoughts. So it's like you just added this filter to your mind, and that's what I got from meditation. You know, it's like you're able to see all the thoughts, and then all the ones that don't fit into what you're doing, you can kind of take them out, like anxiety, stress.
Okay, so it's normal to start off with like scatter thoughts. And like everything.
Yeah. I mean,
100%.
yeah, that's it's like a purge almost.
Yeah.
It's like everything that's ever happened in your unconscious is operating and flowing, and then you're just like seeing it. But the meditation is those little aha moments that like, oh shit, I'm just thinking, and then there's a silence,
right?
And then eventually
it just starts roaring back up a little, and then you catch it.
Yeah.
And then it starts roaring back up, and then you catch it.
So then
it's like reps.
I feel like meditation would take, because they could say like you could start off slowly by like meditating only for 5 minutes, but now the way how you're describing it, I feel like you would have to meditate for like a long time to like find that one silent moment. Because for me, I have to go on for like 5 minutes before I get that. Yeah,
I'm doing 20 minutes a day.
20 minutes.
People are telling me that's baby hours, baby time.
Yeah,
and like for me, I'm like
hours.
Yeah,
there's always extremists,
but you got to build up to it. Like if you can find moments of silence within 5 minutes, then do that for 2 weeks, and then add an extra couple minutes, and then just. You're going to eventually manifest that silence into the whole 20 minutes or 10 minutes.
You know what I started doing as well, though? I mean, like, I feel like there's no rules, but there's some rules, which is why, like, having a teacher is useful.
Right.
To just kind of come in and tune you up a little, and then you go, oh, I have all this, like, this better direction or something. And one thing I started doing lately, it doesn't always work because, you know, like, you want to kind of find those silences. And for me, it might take 20 minutes sometimes. Like, it really doesn't come easily. I'm all over the place.
Right.
But I got inspired by my cats.
Okay.
They literally, it sounds silly, but like they're not sleeping, but their eyes are closed. You know, they just kind of, I don't know if you own cats or anything.
No.
Okay, it's like you got to have cats to know what I'm talking about. They're like little fucking Zen bastards. They just sit and like they'll just slowly start closing their eyes, but their head doesn't fall. They're not sleeping. And then like a noise will happen. They'll just open their eyes and look towards the sound. And then they won't even move their head. They'll just start closing their eyes again. They're like, I'm safe, whatever. And I just started doing these kind of like pocket meditations.
Interesting.
And it's like, you don't have to sit there 20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. You don't have to put the pressure on. It's like an exercise. If you're not going to do it, then it's not going to get you anywhere.
Right.
You know? So if 5 minutes works for you, that's awesome. But I'll do 20 seconds sometimes. Just close my eyes and feel my body and just kind of have this little... I don't think I'm cultivating as much than if I'm really sitting down. But anyway... We could talk about meditation forever. I love the topic.
Sometimes I try to meditate in my bed and then I just end up falling asleep. And I'm like,
that's great though.
And then I just knock out and I'm like, crap, missed it. Like,
is it at night though? Like as you're going to bed?
It's when I wake up. As soon as I wake up, I'm like,
just go back to sleep.
Yeah, I'm just gonna meditate for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And they're like, sit up. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to lie down and meditate. Knockout.
You seem to have this voice that just gives you good advice. And you're like, I'll listen sometimes, but like it's comfortable. I'm just going to stay down.
Yeah.
Where did you get that voice? I've always wanted to ask people, like, a lot of things that might have like saved you in those hard moments, is it like your upbringing or like the books, like you said, meditation, like
yes, I guess this ties into your question, if there was any practices that I do. Where do I get this voice? I don't know. I think I've always had it, but it was because of the way that like I grew up, where it's like your parents' way or the highway. So it was kind of always hushed, where I didn't think that I knew any better. Like my thoughts or my beliefs wasn't the right thoughts or beliefs. Like everybody around me knew more than what I knew. So I think as I started to dive into understanding The Secret more, what else do I listen to? I literally just YouTube. Like motivation videos. So TD Banks, what is that his name? I feel like I'm saying it wrong, but TJ Banks, something like that.
Okay.
And Les
so cool
Brown.
TD Banks.
Yeah, that's I'm thinking about the bank right now. TD Jakes. I think it's TD Jakes. Anyways, so like for instance, him. Oprah with the Super Soul, listen to her podcast, helps me, and just it gives me validation. And then I think from that's what's helping me gain my that inner voice, because my inner voice I realize is the same as their inner voice, and I was like, holy crap! Nice. So maybe I'm not wrong in what I'm thinking or what that voice is saying. Like it no longer has to be hushed, because there is validation there. There's other people that are thinking what I'm thinking. As far as practices, I didn't have any practices except for saying affirmations in the morning.
Just positive
affirmations.
You said like a certain number, or just like...
I would say as much as I needed that day. So whatever I wasn't feeling confident in, that's what I would affirm.
Wow, nice.
So
nice.
That's really cool.
It changes a lot. It's really based on what's going on.
Yeah, and it was at one point. It took a lot of discipline and a lot of learning, because at one point I thought like, The Secret, like it was like wishful thinking, like I was like, if I think about it long enough, like it's gonna appear. So like I started off like literally playing the lotto, and I'm like, I'm going to win the lotto. I'm going to win the lotto. If only it worked
like that. I've been there. I freaking been there. I feel like so many people have been there. Just like maybe it's all the Matrix, and we could just manifest whatever we want. It's like fucking maybe, man. Maybe you'll win $1 billion, and then a lot of your problems are gone.
Exactly.
You ever seen the Dave Chappelle bit on that book?
No.
What's the name of the book again? It's called
The
Secret. Yeah. He's like, go to a starving child in Africa. Go visualize some mashed potatoes with gravy. He's like, stop it, you're killing me. But he acted way better. Obviously, it was one of the best bits ever.
Oh,
but
God. I'm gonna see that.
I'll send it to you. It's great.
Yeah.
But like, that's where it doesn't work. But that's what it's not. It's not meant for that. It's meant for the other things. Like if only you could just visualize that lotto ticket and fucking
you said
cash
perfectly.
out.
But it's also
validation.
And what I realized that I was doing wrong is I wasn't releasing what I wanted to be manifested. Wow. Like I was keeping it inside, and like I was wishing for it rather than like saying like having the belief in it and saying like this is what it is and it's gonna happen, and like trusting the universe with it. I was still I was still doubting it. It was like, is it really gonna happen? With like one eye open, like, are you working on it yet? Like
and it's that doubt that was holding you back.
Yes, exactly. But so I have this 5-minute journal, and 2 weeks prior to the show, I wrote in my journal, because what you have to do is you write 3 things you're grateful for, 3 affirmations, and then you come back, and that night you say like what was something that happened in your day that you enjoyed.
Okay.
And I had wrote it as an affirmation. I said that I'm going to have a Born to Rise show with 500 guests, and I left it in the book. And then like I was basically like, I was like the main like person that was pushing the show, promoting the show. And I was a bit nervous. I was like, is it gonna work? And I'm like, I wrote in my book, release it, you'll be good. And I didn't think about it again. And then I went to the show, and then when I had asked, I'm like, well, how much people were there? And they're like 500. I was like, boom, I did it. I manifested that.
But you see what it is?
Mic drop.
And I'm seeing it now is you wrote it down, but you didn't just write it down and do nothing. It's like that was the goal that you set, and then you did all the measures, maybe even like without even realizing that you were doing it. But because you set that goal, it already manifests because you were doing all the work necessary.
Exactly.
So that's the power of that. I didn't like. I'm actually seeing it from all angles now. I'm like writing it down as opposed to just writing it down versus you wrote it down and you've accomplished it in the process.
Exactly. There's work behind it. People don't think there's work. It's wishful thinking, right? But no, there's work that you have to follow up. So that's the key. Is like, what's the work behind winning a lotto? Because it's luck. So what's
buying more tickets?
It's like this. It's like if you don't release it, like you said, then you're holding on to it in this kind of like fear energy. You're hoping God like bestows something onto you, and it's like you have so much already. Like your brother was telling you, you know, like you've lost one thing, but you have so much still to work with. And I mean, it's not even a loss; it's like a change.
It's a gain, actually.
It really is too. I kind of like was leading into that for sure. Like you wouldn't be who you are essentially. No. This incredible person doing these incredible things.
So a lot of people ask me, they're like,
it's like it activated you. It's like
it did. It put like the fire under my ass. That's for sure. And a lot of people ask me, they're like, well, is there ever a time that you wish that you'd never had vitiligo? And like in an instant, like right away, I'm like, hell no. Wow. Like I wouldn't like be who I am today if I didn't have this. Like who knows, you know? Like I don't think like I wouldn't have the courage to do what I'm doing. So what I once thought was like a curse ended up being my biggest blessing.
Imagine your future self came to you and told you in your darkest moments that one day, like you would never believe it. You'd be like, hey, shut the fuck up, you know?
Oh my God.
Like, what? I'm gonna like, never want to change it. Fuck that. And now, like, it's crazy how like we can like overcome such obstacles and just dominate and conquer our personal journey to the point where like, I won't change a single thing. You know?
So like, and then it's to a point where I live for adversity and I live for challenges now because I know that's what makes me. That's what builds my character. That's what helps me develop into the person that I want to aspire to be. And so we normally see it as a bad thing, right? When you hear about people's tragedies and stuff. But when I hear it, I'm just like, damn. I'm like, when you realize like the person, when you realize the lesson out of this, you're gonna be like a powerful person. So like when I hear their stories, I'm like, yo, you don't even know what like the universe. I say God, I believe in God. I'm like, you don't even know what like God has planned for you. Like he's using you as an example. You just gotta suck it up, swallow it, and just like pray, you know, and like count your blessings, the things that you are grateful for. So like recently, just yesterday, I was like, so I recently moved out. Ooh. And I was behind on my rent and I was freaking out. I was like, I just inspired by my brother again. He's like, quit your job. Like you can't work for other people. You're wasting your time working for other people when you have such a platform and like the amount of money that like I can make. Because I do speaking engagements also where I go into schools. And he's like, if you just get on the phone to dedicate your life to what it is you want to do, then like you don't even know like what like he's like you're $1 million brand and you don't even see it, but you're too busy making money for other people.
If you knew Jamie, this story would have been like that much sweeter.
If you just picture this guy like
So I was like, yeah, you're right, I'm gonna quit my job. Gave my 2 weeks notice the next day, and then I'm like, okay, whoa.
The panic comes in.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got bills to pay. Like, you're not living at home anymore. So yesterday was like, I had a freak attack because like, I got paid. I did a speaking engagement. I got paid. I'm like, okay, good. Like, I'm gonna be good, you know, for my rent. But then another debt collector withdrew money from my account, and it made me short. So it's like, oh my God. I'm like, where are you? So I got mad, and I was like, oh my God, the universe. I'm like, you're supposed to be working in my favor. I'm not understanding. Like,
do you ever get mad at your brother because he's like
yes,
he's like encouraging you? Like,
yes.
Like
I'm like, why did you tell me? Like, why did you? But I would never say it to him. So it's a conversation by myself.
It's worth it. Like, it's a double-edged sword. It's worth it.
But then like I calmed down and it was like, Aiesha, I'm like, this is a challenge. I'm like, think about it. Like, what are you doing wrong? You know, like, what is the lesson that's being taught to you here?
That's a very big of you.
Yeah, and then I realized like it's my spending habits, and that's probably what they're trying to get at me. Is like, listen, like we keep giving you a little bit and the money that you need, and you keep blowing it away. So like, we're gonna take something away from you that's gonna like really hit home and let you know that like, okay, like now you gotta like, you know, like watch your your spending habits. And then so then like I was in my car and I was driving and I just took 10 breaths and then I started naming off things that like I was grateful for. And then I get home and I'm cleaning out my car and I found a check for the amount of money that I needed to cover for my rent, and I was like, bam.
What
I knew you had me.
Fucking synchronicity.
Yeah.
It's a trip.
Yeah.
That is insane. You know, there's this word I use to kind of like replace synchronicities, and it's from Sanskrit, and they call it lila, and it kind of translates to like the gods having fun. So every time I hear a story like that, it's like someone just threw you a bone and they're like laughing, like you're freaking out.
We're like puppets. So
exactly.
Like they're watching us. They're like,
I just hope that's the reality, and I hope I die and become one of those people who's just like, you just get to have like these little angelic moments, or maybe even fuck with people. Like, you know, you were stressing before.
Oh my God,
but people have if these like God things have like a bigger perspective, and they're just laughing at you even when you're freaking out.
Yeah.
But you sound like you're like a stress ninja now. Like you're like, okay, I know what to do, and you just start putting yourself back into place.
Yeah. I don't like, it takes a lot for me to actually like stress out over a situation, because I understand like it's for the greater good, that there's a lesson. So now I'm like just diving, like it's like what do you call it? Like a detective almost. Like, okay, like let me find out like what is the lesson I'm supposed to learn out of this? That's like, the attitude, let me hurry up and learn it so I can like overcome it.
Yeah, I love that.
And that's endless, right? With that mindset, anything that can happen, you can observe and look for the lesson and kind of just navigate through it. You know? Like that's a tough practice, but like that can get you through almost anything.
Exactly.
You know?
It's like you had to accept the moment to start looking into solutions.
Absolutely.
So it's this perfect little attitude. Yeah.
And like I think like living with like that's another, like even me moving out, that was like a big no to my parents and to my brother. They were like extremely against it. And because they're like, well, no, why wouldn't, my parents are like, yo, we'll buy a condo and like you can live in it. And I was like, well, no, like I don't, like I want to do something for myself. Yes. Like I need to grow, like I need to have independence, you know, like I can't always be relying on you guys. And I think I was too comfortable at home to stay at home, and it was something like at home, that was the home that like I went through my depressive state, and like I just need to really be out of that environment. So even when I go to visit, like there's just like this heavy weight that I feel there that I can't stay there too long. And then when I get to my new place, and it's just like like a breath of fresh air. And the other day, like, so prior to, I even like had to reach out to my dad because I didn't think I was going to make rent. So I had to reach out to him, and he was like laughing at me. He's like, you want to move out, now you're coming back to me. So it, like ego wise, that hurt me, you know. So I was happy I was able to make it without his help. But the biggest struggle for me is knowing that like having people in my life that care so much about me that it's almost to a fault, in the sense where like I'm okay with, like, if I fail, I'm okay with failure. I'm okay with accepting it. But it's like they're not. You know what I mean? So every decision that I make, they're not understanding my mentality, and they want to protect me. So it's like I feel like that voice now in my head is like, oh my God, like I'm okay with it, but I can't do this because they're not going to be okay with it. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm kind of living to like please them a bit still, and that's like the toxicity in like our relationship now, because like you guys don't understand that I'm like, if I fail and I like, it's part of my journey, like I needed to go through this to learn a lesson. But where they're like, well, no, we've been through this and we know what it's like, so we don't want you to face what we've had to face. So it's like
parents.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's such a normal family dynamic. It's just like
it is. Yeah. So yeah, that's like the toughest challenge that I'm dealing with right now is just like, how does one like feel completely secure in themselves, but like also have to take on like the feelings of like their loved ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you're doing it right now. It's just, it's going to make more sense the longer you're in it.
Yeah.
You know, because it's pretty fresh. You moved out.
Yeah.
You know, so.
It's so cool that you've just realized that though, and you're like looking for challenges. You want to grow. I mean, I have fun imagining what it's like to be a parent, and like you're their baby no matter what, but then they've seen you go through hell and back and then become like just like fortified and powerful from it. And I'm sure that all they want to do is nurture you, but like nurturing you would be kicking you out of the nest kind of thing. And then they just can't bring themselves to do it for whatever reason. I'm not a parent. I'm sure it's hard to change habits like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And like I had a conversation with my mom, and she told me, she's like, we just don't, like, we know what it is to struggle, and like they worked their lives, they worked as hard as they have worked, so we didn't have to go through the struggles. So now like it's for them, it's like their goal was to like live to give us everything we wanted. And now that I'm like, no, I don't want it, they're like, whoa, I worked hard to do this for you. Like, you better take it. And any child would want this, right? Like, I have this conversation with my friend that like his parents are the opposite, where like he has to like help them out type thing. And like and like he's like, yo, like you should be grateful that you have parents like this. And I'm like, I get it, but like he's like, anyone want to trade places with you, and I'm like, I understand, I get it.
But just like, judging just from your story of how you got here, I can already tell that that's not the route you want to take.
Exactly.
You know, it's like
it's not what you need.
Yeah.
Like
it's not in your character.
No.
You know, it's just.
Exactly.
It's a shame too, because like you're making me think about my family a lot. My parents have worked so much, so hard. They're still doing it. Yeah. I'm 31, man. Like they shouldn't be trying to help me out at this point.
Yes.
And I feel like a burden often. But like my brother is a great example of like he's used everything they gave them, and he's always been working hard also. So it's like you don't necessarily have to like escape the comforts. You can always find the maximum effort in your life, you know? But I feel kind of kindred with you, where it's like I need to kind of just get away and find myself, and it's like for someone like my brother, it's like cheesy because he's just like the older brother.
That's
and he's
Jamie.
Like, yeah,
that's exactly because I just turned 30, and like, and I'm like, by
dude, you
30,
look 20. What the fuck?
I know, I get that all the time.
That's crazy.
And yeah, like so for him, like he doesn't even understand himself. He's like, bro, are you stupid? He's like, why wouldn't you just like live at home for free and just work and like save your money? I'm like, because I don't know how to save. I'm like, if I live at home and I'm making money, I have no responsibility, so I'm just gonna spend it on stupidity. I'm like, I'm the type of person where I need to like hit rock bottom. I need to feel and learn for myself. I can't like I'm not that type of like logical person, you know what I mean? Like, no, I need to like actually go through the experiences to actually learn a lesson.
That usually builds a lot of depth, you know, in the character. And resilience is like when you go into those moments and get yourself out.
Exactly.
Debt builds depth.
Debt builds. Oh,
let's not promote that.
No, let's not promote that.
Everyone just get into debt. Yeah, and you're gonna get depth in your character.
There we go. Oh god. No, but I guess we're just realizing maybe it does depend on the person. I guess it always does, like you said at the top of the podcast, like everyone's different, it's all personal, and I really respect that. And it's hard to sometimes because you see everyone around you, especially with social media, like it's so hard to not compare. But like in my case too, just happens to be my environment really governs who I am. Right. And if I can realize that and start shaping my environment, that's like my indirect way of shaping myself.
Exactly.
And other people might not get that because it's just not who they are. And it's like, fuck you, bro.
Exactly.
Love me or don't, but like...
Exactly. Like, you just go down your pathway, and I'm just going to go down mine. Like, don't tell me how to live my life, please.
I think in the end, it's nice, though, because a good family always just... There's resistance. There's always friction, you know?
Exactly.
But when they start seeing you happy,
exactly,
it clicks.
Yeah.
And then everything's okay.
Exactly.
So I hope.
That's what I'm going to tell them. I'm like, you're helping me because it might be a different story. Who knows? It might be a different story if I had nothing to fall back on. But knowing that, like, if I was in deep water and I really, really needed the help, that they were there. And that's enough for me, just to know that they're there to catch me. But if I fall, but let me fall and, like, need to reach out to you to, like, know. And then that's all the help that I need. I'm going to tell them that because I haven't had that conversation. I haven't said it in those type of terms. I think there's a lot of friction between us because, like, I don't communicate and I'm just like, well, I probably come off, like, as ungrateful. Like as if I'm ungrateful to them, but if I should, like, no, exactly. So if I tell them that way, like, you'll help me if I fall and I know you're there. Just knowing that you're there is all I need to know.
Just tell them to listen to the podcast.
Like, yo, I'm gonna do that. Yes. I'm gonna do that.
I've thought of that a few times. I'm like talking so honestly about my life and some friends in my life and family, and I'm just like, I never talk like this. Exactly. Me and you, even if we just met in the street or something, we would say, hey, how's it going? Like this, you know, it's
nice to meet you. Okay, take care. Create open-ended conversation in a room with 3 mics.
Oh, we could be here for like 3 hours, 4 hours.
I would love to. But it's like your example of the turtle running to the baby turtle running to the water. There's no help.
Exactly.
You know? And when it gets there, it gets there.
Exactly.
It's like some people need that assistance, but a lot of people, especially looking at your journey as a whole, is you're a type that takes on challenges. You know, and you thrive when you're at the bottom and you come up from there, right? So it's beautiful that you're doing this to yourself because you're teaching yourself all these lessons that you're going to gain, you know?
Exactly. And I live for it. And that's like where my true happiness comes from. And then it's like, I did this, like, self-gratification. Like, I did this by myself, you know? I
own it. It's yours.
Like, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're glorifying dependence either, because you're all about this community, this sharing. Like we need, at the very least, just to hear each other's stories, if not really directly help each other, or sometimes not even just being there for someone, just being yourself. Sometimes you save somebody or help somebody, or they help you or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it's confusing and beautiful and awesome and
it's just
messy.
It's living your truth, though. Like the moment you took on yourself as who you were, and then that's how you inspired that person. Yeah, because it was nothing unique what you did. It was just he saw you, and that was enough.
Exactly.
You know, and you spoke, and boom.
Exactly.
You know,
and in a way, it is unique though, because like there's people in all different types of bodies carrying themselves in just a way that they see themselves. And for you to be having the same like features as him, the patches, I don't know what to call them. I'm actually surprised. Yeah, leopard spots or something. I was actually afraid of being like super insensitive and like offending you or something.
Oh no, I've heard it all.
Yeah,
like,
that's it.
Vertigo. I'm like, there's no R in there. Like, okay.
I mix it up with vertigo sometimes.
Vertigo. I can't even say it right. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, but I don't know.
It impressed me when you said, like, I know people say it, like, different ways. Like, there's different terms to call it. Like, because people say vitiligo, vitiligo. And I was like, oh, he knew that. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, he said it differently than what I thought. I don't even know which one I chose. Like,
vitiligo?
When I said it. Yeah.
Vitiligo?
On the internet, yeah. So, like, I even get confused sometimes. I'm just like, as long as you say vitiligo or vitiligo, I know what you're talking about. I'm like, okay, it's one or the other. So, like, sometimes I look up and be like, what did you call it? Like, other people that have vitiligo, I'm like, let me see what you call it first before I call it, in case I mess it up.
I'm actually curious about the condition as well. I mean, we actually didn't talk about it that much, but like, does it come and go? Does it get worse as you get older?
There's no telling.
Okay, it's random.
Yeah, it's literally random. They're still doing research about it. So what I do know for sure is that it affects everybody differently, and it can affect anybody of any age, gender, ethnicity. Some people, they can get just like one patch and that's it. Some people, they can. I've met people that gone completely white. And I've met people that were reversed. So they started off with vitiligo and then their pigment came back. Okay. It's symmetrical for some people. So for myself, example, on Winnie Harlow, like both of it, like whatever happens on one side happens on the other side.
That's kind of cool, actually.
It's so cool. I think it's so cool.
Yeah.
I've met people that have like a white patch in their hair.
Yeah, I've met people like that too. Actually, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, or their eyelashes go white.
Cool. Okay.
So I wish I had a white.
You're like jealous. Yeah. You're like
Isn't it like a lack of vitamin D in that specific area?
There's
no receptors or something like that.
Honestly, to be honest, and that's my next mission, is to actually go more in depth and get more information about it, because I literally know the basics about it. And the reason why is because I've heard so many things about it, like there's a cure here, or like go to like Mexico and they found a cure.
I heard they had like a cream in India that gets rid of it.
Exactly. And it's just I rolls eye. I'm like, when you guys find the actual, like what's actually happening, because you guys say like it's an autoimmune disease, not disease, sorry.
Deficiency.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but that's all they have, but what causes it, and they don't know. So now I'm just waiting on the research to like figure your shit out and then like get back to me. But I've heard like so many different theories. I don't know what's right, but it does have to do with like a lack of one of what would you call it?
It's what's the one that pulls in the light? Melanin?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's lack of melanin in the skin.
Yeah.
That's what changes it when you get tanned in the sun. And there's just none in there.
Right.
So you're literally just, there's no vitamin D going inside, so it goes white.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy.
I don't know if it's a lack of vitamin. I heard it was a lack of something else. I just can't think about it.
Maybe because of the effect, and then the skin getting white, and then like it doesn't absorb like something.
It's not absorbing
something, so you get less vitamin D.
Yeah.
Which might like contribute to depression. I'm a doctor now, apparently.
Oh. I like
Sammy.
that.
Who knows, right? But I mean, it's kind of cool that it's like a little mysterious also.
Right.
Like, are there any peripheral like dangers? Like, is there anything else that you're susceptible to?
So that's another thing where I heard that we're not supposed to go in the sun because of the lack of pigment that's supposed to like protect us, so it can cause skin cancer. But then I heard my friend, the same one that told me I had vitiligo, she's obsessed with it, so she like researches a lot, and she's also a nurse. So she told me, she's like, that's stupid. She's like, that's not true. She's like, it's melanin, like you can't get cancer because there's nothing to like for it to attract to like get the
so you're
cancer.
immune to skin cancer in those areas now, or something crazy
that's
like that.
What they're saying, but she's saying that I'm not, that it's impossible to be like that because we're already missing like the melanin.
That's crazy.
So
that's
I'm just
cool.
like you guys are hurting my head right now. Like,
I think it needs more studying behind it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I have it on my leg, and and I just like when I go in the sun, it gets really red. And it fucking hurts. So I don't know if it's good for me.
Well, funny story actually. When I go to so like I don't care. So because some people they're like, don't go in the sun. But like, I'm still gonna go in the sun. So I was on a catamaran in Barbados, and I put on sunscreen, but I only put it on once, and we're on the boat for like 3 hours, and I was just out there laying out, but like I wasn't even like trying to be in the sun, like to like, oh, I'm tanning. I was just on a catamaran. You're outside, you're in the sun, like the sun's beaming on you, and so when I get home, like my lips were like 3 times the size because I have vitiligo on my lips, and my eyes, like the white spots, were like burning. They were completely red and they were burning. So I guess I got like a sunburn on it. And for 2 days, like I had to stay in the hotel room. Like I could not leave. Like it was so painful.
Yikes.
So painful. And I never understood it when white people told me that they got sunburns. I was like, what is a sunburn?
You got a little like, empathy about it.
Yeah, and I was like, OMG. And so
hilarious.
I put the aloe
vera,
vera on it, and that really helped soothe it.
Nice.
But funny thing is that under my eyes, I was like completely white, and like my skin came back like a little bit. Yeah, and I was like,
really
interesting. Yeah, my pigment came back under my eyes a bit. Like it used to be all
serious
like
mystery.
Like a raccoon, like all white hair, and then so my pigment came back. So I was like, I don't understand this because you guys are telling me to stay at the sun, but when I'm in the sun, like
you got rid of some of it, and like.
But that is also a treatment, like the UV ray light to go in that. That is a treatment, but then they said like it's a risk you're taking because you can get cancer, and so.
I guess in the end, it's just like part of you now, and you're not worried about it.
Exactly, I'm not worried about it. So I'm just
and also, I think if you go down that mindset of being afraid of the sun, then you're also kind of inducing that whole belief system.
Exactly.
And the placebo we always spoke about in the last podcast. It's like then you actually can create those problems.
Exactly.
You know, because your body's like fucking believing it.
It's anxiety for nothing. Yeah. I mean, you need you're not going to stay out of the sun.
Yeah.
You're like turning
live
someone
your
into
life and just fucking you know.
Yeah.
That being said, I think we gotta cut it here. Eh? Yeah.
We're done.
Fuck, it's crazy how it flies by, eh?
Right?
That was
we have to do this again.
Yeah, I would love to come back. This is fun.
It's fun, eh?
Yeah, this is like therapeutic.
it really fucking is.
That we just do it for fun. We honestly we just love doing it, and it's cool to feel the difference with a third person here, and to just kind of like have the focus shift on like a story, a person, a topic. It was a fun energy. It was really. I really appreciate you coming, and I definitely want you to come back as soon as you can.
Thank you guys having me here. I really enjoyed
your
myself.
First guest.
Yeah.
Aiesha. How cool is that? You hold that in for life. Once Curious Chimps is massive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're like, did you know? I was the first guest.
If you have any
shit on your resume.
If you have any plugs or anything you want to just promote, or if there's anything coming up.
Well, with Born to Rise now, we have the annual show that comes up every year in April.
Okay.
But we are going to start doing little workshops throughout the year, involving the past speakers. So it's going to be bringing them out to give them that continuous platform to share their story and to help other people. So stay tuned for that. That's coming in 2020. Follow me at Aiesha Robinson _ and at borntorise.mtl.
Beautiful.
And yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
If you're a teacher, if you're holding any events and you're looking for a public speaker, over here.
Montreal based? Did you travel a little bit?
I travel.
Okay.
Nice. I just came back from Ottawa. I had a speaking engagement at Gloucester High School on Tuesday.
Very cool.
Which was really dope. I enjoyed it. It was like every time I speak, I'm like, bro, I need to be doing this more often. Like, I live for this. Like, this is my calling.
Well, you're manifesting it.
Yeah. Like, I shouldn't, no, I can't be in a 9-to-5 office. Like,
nice.
Like, my mom tries to, tell me, she's like, well, like, you could help me out here. And then I'm like, I appreciate your concern, but no. I'm like, this is, like, what I want to do, you know? And
cut the cord, Mom.
Exactly.
Born to Rise over here.
Exactly. I guess I can't completely blame them because they haven't seen me, pursue it, fully, so they kind of is this gonna
because they're seeing the process, but it's gonna come like a tidal wave once you have all that experience behind it.
Exactly. And I feel like this is time, I moved out, I'm in a good headspace now. So
it's the first step for sure. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's almost like you got to convince them, and then it starts bleeding back into you.
Exactly, but it's hard, to worry about what other people think, and your
parents, especially.
Exactly.
Okay, guys, we got to cut it.
Oh yeah, he has to leave.
He has to leave.
Oh, alrighty.
Peace and love, bitches.
I would have kept going. It's just he has to get going, but we're gonna redo this.
Yes.
Awesome.